Hey guys, welcome to another wonderful episode of Ian's Wonderful World. Today, in conjunction with the Emerald Regional Beekeeping Club, Greg has welcomed me around to test out the new honey press thing. Yeah, cappings press, wax press, you name it. We've got a few little tips we're going to share. Okay, so what we have here is we have our bucket. Now you could put a honey gate on there, and we have two sieves. So we have the finest sieve on the bottom and the wider sieve on the top. First tip is 2 sheets of baking paper, and what happens is you place that on the top and it prevents any of the wax and honey and things from actually sticking to your plate. So let's get stuck in. What we're going to actually do is we're going to throw some cappings in, and also we have a frame from 2018 that we're going to cut up and place in there, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of honey out of it. You can see how this baby works.
Yep. We mightn't get very much from the cappings because these cappings are actually draining overnight in the tray.
Yep.
So they're a bit on the dry side, so you mightn't see much. It's going to be very interesting. We'll have fun. You can have fun watching us having fun. Step 1, cappings. As I said, just some cappings, as I said, fairly dry. There's a little bit of the honey at the bottom. So we have an ideal frame of mine from 18th of May 2018 from memory.
There's a fair bit of weight in that.
Yep.
We'll show this to the camera. Do you think it's fermented, Greg?
There was a little bit of leakage because after I took it out of the freezer to bring it to room temperature, that was a couple of days ago, there had been a little bit of leakage on the bottom of the frame, and that had fermented ever so slightly. It wasn't really rank, but it was just had that little bit of alcohol smell to it. So the frame was then carefully washed, and then using a gentle compressor, any of the excess water was then blown off, so we've now got a dry frame again, so we're not introducing water into the honey. Serrated knife, buy from any really good bee store, excellent. Surgically sharp, so be very careful. Now because this was a foundation frame, I'm just going to follow the wire. The tip is, don't try and do this really quickly by pushing the knife down. Rely on the sawing action, and as you can see, it's like a knife through honey. Now this is a fairly dark frame, or dark comb I should say, because it had been for one season a brood comb, as you can see. Also the honey's going to be dark because most of this will be messmate honey, or stringy bark, which tends to be fairly dark anyway. And now you can see why I'm wearing food handling gloves, because by the time we're through with this, if I was just bare-handed, it'd be even messier than what this is at the moment. At least it's just on my gloves. So in a minute I'll be able to dispose with the disposable gloves, and at least my hands will be clean. There we are. It's not that I'm miserly, I just want to try and get every bit of this beautiful honey that we can, because I know how good it's going to be. Just pop the paper down, like so. Oh, have you been on MasterChef? You do that so well.
Yeah. We'll soon find out.
Yep. That comes over. The locking nut. Now, this does have quite a good capacity. You can get at least 2 full depth frames of comb in here, at least. The pressing plate is now coming down onto the paper, and that's why we use 2 pieces of paper, one to make sure that your plate is going to be covered. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of resistance now, so it won't be long and we'll start seeing some honey starting to come out of the holes. Now, through experience, I've found that don't try and rush this. Once we're getting honey coming out of several points like that, this is where I tend to slow down a little bit and just do a little bit and a little bit. Now, because it's only an ideal frame, we're not going to get a huge amount of honey, and particularly because it was a brood frame for one season. Now, obviously with a couple of frames in here, the flow of honey is a lot more robust and a lot quicker. So this is going to be a little bit on the slow side. Now, I don't know if you can see as it's coming out, there's a reasonable amount of wax in this as well. So that's why you always use the double strainer. With a lot of frames, please don't do this too quickly, because what can happen, you can actually push the wax so that it actually coats the little holes where the honey's got to weep out. So you can really slow the process down if you try too hard to make it quick.
That wax paper certainly does work a treat, because it's around the edge of the plate. It prevents the honey from coming upwards also.
Yeah. Now, of course, ideally, you don't want to be doing this inside in an insect-proof environment. But we're very fortunate we haven't got any visiting bees. Obviously, the messmate around here is still flowering, so they're into that at the moment, not this. So you can see what I mean about the wax covering the holes. Because we've done this slowly, we don't have that as a major issue. But you can imagine, if you try and do this too quickly, you'll just get too much wax to slow down the flow of your honey. Just underneath the plate, I'll just kick that back a little bit for you. Plate is quite clean, so the paper has done its job. Because of the indents in the pressure plate, that is ideal. And last but not least, well, it doesn't look as though it's going to come up in one piece, but we'll get close.
Check it out.
So, there's still a little bit of honey there, but not much.
That's solid as a rock.
Oh yeah, yep.
I think you could almost put another sheet of baking paper underneath here.
Yep.
And that would be easier to remove.
Yep, absolutely. Hello, sweetheart. We have one visitor that has found us. Where have you been?
So that's it, Greg. You won't get any more honey out of this.
I mean, you could get another 20 or 30 mil, but to me it's really not worth the huge effort required to get that out.
Yep.
This I will now be reducing down. I just use a very cheap slow cooker, just a 10 litre slow cooker. Put a couple of inches of water in it, put that in it, bring it up to a very slow simmer on low, don't use the high heat. Once the wax is melted, turn off the cooker, leave it overnight, and your wax solidifies out. And that's about it.
So Greg, how do we now clean this?
Do not use hot water, rule number 1. Because if you're doing this inside, in your own kitchen or laundry or whatever, if you use hot water, whatever wax is there, you will melt, and then it will solidify in your pipes, and your plumber will thank you very much for doing that.
Yep.
So, tepid water only, give it a wash, a bit of a scrub, a scrubbing brush that is not going to be used in the kitchen again.
Dishwashing liquid?
A bit of dishwashing liquid helps. The important thing is, do not use hot water, tepid water only, please. Just clean it off, and because we've used the paper up here on the plate, you don't have to worry about trying to clean up in here. There might be a little bit of honey, as there is in this case, on top of it.
Yeah.
Just wipe it with the cloth and that's fine. But to get this done, that's fine.
So let's show everyone how much honey we actually extracted from a very small amount of cappings and one ideal frame.
Ideal frame.
What do you think would be in that, Greg?
Looking at that, I would say approximately 750 grams. Because I always think, how big's the jar? So that'll do about 1.5 500 gram jars.
Now you taste it and tell me if it's fermented, please.
Well, the consistency tells me it hasn't. It's nice and thick. There is a little bit of a fermentation aftertaste, but no, that hasn't fermented. Oh gee, that's rich. I like that.
And that is after 4 years in the freezer.
5 years.
5 years in the freezer.
Yep.
Wow. I think we'd better put the lid on that before I have any more and before the bees get here. Thank you, Greg. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you got a couple of little tips out of there of the new honey press for the Emerald Regional Beekeepers Club. Have a great day.